Good morning, everybody. All right, let's do this. Ask me anything. What is it? It is August 10th, 2023. All right. Got all the questions pulled up. Got some good stuff out of the private Facebook group for Linchpin, as well as the BTWB squads for Linchpin. And I got a cup of black coffee. So, what more could one ask for? Yeah. Oh, good morning, Nick. Ciao from Italy. Right back at you. Hello, hello. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Where to start? Okay. First most upvoted question, and very, very timely with the games just ending. I would have been shocked if there was not a games question leading the way, since what is today? Thursday. The game just ended on Sunday. So from KDG. Favorite part of the recent CrossFit Games? Okay, here's my answer. Ready? I have absolutely no idea what happened at the games. I did not follow it in any way, shape, or form. I just had real life going on with 3 kids, which didn't allow me to watch YouTube or ESPN the entire time. And then when I wasn't doing that during the workday, I had a lot of work to do. I didn't have time to watch YouTube. So I know that, and I know this because I saw it on Rogue's Instagram. I know that Laura Horvath won, and I know that Adler won. I couldn't tell you who took second and third for the men, and I couldn't tell you who took second or third for the women, although I know that I saw it on Rogue's Instagram, but it didn't stick in my head. So I've got no idea. I believe they did an Olympic lifting total, and they did a long run. Other than that, I have no idea what any of the events are, and no clue what happened. And so yeah, I don't know. I guess the games happened. And I guess some people were crowned fittest on earth. So congrats to Laura, and congrats to Jeff. It's funny, I actually had to record a very not random show yesterday with Adrian. And so when I got on there, I was like, hey brother, how'd it go? Full disclosure, I didn't watch a darn thing. Life was just busy, so I hope it went okay. And he's like, yep, it went okay. I'm sure the normal stuff of some people were happy, some people were unhappy. Some things went how they should, some things didn't go how they should. That's generally how live events go. Okay, I'm sure I'll see things rolling in over the course of the week, but yeah, that's my games recap right there. Okay, next most upvoted question. For Marcus M. We all know there's a huge difference between testing day and training day. My question is, when you write something that says, for example, all out effort for time, is it a testing day or a training day? Okay, so first of all, that concept of training day versus testing day, in my personal opinion, is one of the things that if more people understood and implemented, they would have such a better experience in their strength and conditioning program that would be mind-boggling. I will also go as far as to say I think that's one of the, I just don't think it's talked about enough, quite frankly. I think most of the time when you walk into the gym to get in a workout, it should be a training day with regards to your mindset and not a testing day. And I think a lot of people early in their CrossFit journey have that backwards. I most certainly did. I'm not standing here like I didn't do that. Walk in every day thinking that every day is a CrossFit day. Every day is a full Send day. It's constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. That's it. That's what it says. High intensity. So today's high intensity. Yesterday was high intensity. And we're going to send it again tomorrow. I think that is, you can get away with that for a while. You can. I did. I know a lot of people that did for a while. And no one has got away with it forever. No one that I know. And everyone runs into a wall eventually. It's just, what's your runway before you do? 1 year? 1 decade? I don't know. And will you run into that wall just emotionally, like you're just burnt out and hate working out all the time? Will you run into that wall because you plateau and you're not allowing yourself to recover? Or will you run into that wall, heaven forbid, due to an injury because you're just going too hard all the time and that check's going to get cashed at some point in time. So yes, I think most of the time when you walk in, it should be a training day. And that can be a moderate intensity day, or that can be a low intensity day. And what that allows you to do is every now and then when you do walk in and you want it to be a testing day, you are ready to send it because you actually feel good, rested, and appropriate. And you can stomp the gas pedal all the way down to the floor if you want, because you're not trying to do that every day. So that training versus testing concept, we've hit that in a bunch of these Linchpin conversations. And in case this is the first time you're listening to it, man, I hope you take that on board. And I'm very open and honest. Out of the 5 workouts that we do each week, I only really try to send it, like a testing day, if you will, on 1 to 2. That's it, 1 to 2. So if it's 1 out of 5, that's only 20% of the time. That means 80% of the time I'm not trying to send it. 2 out of 5, for all you math geeks out there, 40%. But no matter how you slice it, it's less than half. So if you're walking in sending it every day, that check will come due. I don't know when, but it will. So I would rather have you modify the schedule on your own terms before your body or joints or something else tells you, this isn't working. But when it says something like all-out effort for time, if you go back over the workouts of the day that I post, you're not going to see that verbiage too frequently. Where that verbiage might pop up is in the optional accessory work. Keyword there being optional. Optional accessory work might be, a 500-meter row or some sprint work or something where it's an all-out effort for time. Well, first of all, it's optional. So just because those words happen to be there, if where you are and how you're modulating your intensity that day, it's not a full send day, you don't have to full send it just because some words said all out effort. You're in charge of your fitness journey, which is why we do these podcasts and have so much of an educational component, because there's a huge overarching umbrella of general concepts in strength and conditioning that are applied to a huge group of people, whether you have 10 people working out in your garage or 10,000 people working out in your garage. If you're doing what you're doing in a well thought out, intelligent manner, they all need to go below parallel. They all need to pull from the ground. They all need to go overhead. They all need to go short, medium, long. They got to work in heavy days. Interval training is going to be beneficial, etc., etc. But all of those 10 people or 10,000 people are living different lives with different sleep schedules, with different everythings. Some person's a little bit more sore here. This workout hit them a bit there. And they're not all going to need to send it on the same day. So, with that being said, what always overrides that is what makes sense for you that day. And so if it's one of those days where you're like, not only do I feel good, I feel like doing the optional accessory work, that's going to be beneficial to me, I'm going to do it. And you can also do the optional accessory work, same like I just said before, training versus testing. And a lot of the optional accessory work, most of the time, should be considered training. You're going to get in some extra, pull-ups, ring muscle-up work, handstand walk, pressing, whatever it happens to be, Bulgarian split squats. Every now and then, it might be more of a testing component, but still, that's absolutely up to you. I mean, even something... You've derailed me now. You've got me going down a rabbit hole, but here we go. It's a short rabbit hole. Even something like yesterday for Linchpin, which you look at, it was a sprint day. 5 50-meter repeats, 3 400-meter repeats, 1 800-meter run. And, it just said rest as needed. That's a sprint day. Nothing in the terminology, if you go back to Instagram, whatever, said all-out effort. But it's a sprint day. I mean, so just by the very nature of the workout construction, it's generally considered higher intensity, shorter time domain, rest periods in the center. I mean, for sure. But here's the deal. How is your life? So my wife did that workout yesterday. She's just had a bad week. She's a human being on planet Earth. They have bad weeks. And your training protocol doesn't care about that, right? Sprint still made sense, but she had a bad week. She was just overly tired. Things got, life threw some stuff at us. And she sprinted at a moderate pace, which isn't really a sprint, okay? It's like you can't jump slowly, right? There's just some things that don't make sense. I did a slow power clean. No, you didn't. And so she just ran at a moderate pace to get out there and to just move. And so that's that. All right, let's see. Next most upvoted question. I think I see what it is, but I just want to make sure. Next most upvoted question from Keston J. Do you use a fitness tracker? I'm looking into these, but I'm not sure if they're necessary, if they're a helpful tool or an unnecessary expense. Okay, well, so first of all, this is just going to get people fired up. And so here we go. The shortest answer to your question, do I use a fitness tracker? No. Do I have any intentions of using a fitness tracker? No. Would I use one if somebody gave me one for free? Probably not. Do I think they are, necessary? No. Most people in the world are working out without one, and they're really fit. So I'm sorry, they're not necessary. They're not. Now, you might want one and use one, and you may find one profoundly helpful. All of those things are true. But are they necessary? No, or else all of us would need them, and you don't. I think there's a lot of wonderful advertising associated with them. I think what they put forth as hardcore facts, if we go into what the actual real definition of a true fact is, I don't think that's actually the case. I think there's some really great marketing and advertising around it. And I think if you pay a lot of athletes to use them, people follow along, and then they swipe the Visa card. Was it last year or the year before that they were associated with CrossFit or the Games or whatever it was, or they were a sponsor and you saw it everywhere? Everyone's got the Whoop, got to have this on or whatnot. I mean, if they were mission critical to fitness, you need it. Not want, you need it. Just like you need to squat. If you need it, then you should be pushing that no matter what. Doesn't matter if there's a sponsorship or not. Just like you need to eat well. You need to do certain things to be strong, fit, and healthy. The movement patterns that we do. Well, I get there must not be a sponsorship anymore. The contract didn't work out. The money didn't work out. So you just don't hear about Whoop anymore because poof, it just went away. So, was it necessary? Or was the contract really nice and lucrative? And then when it was nice and lucrative, look at it, buy it. That's not as lucrative as we wanted to. See it at the side. Again, I know last time I brought this up, if you want, you can listen to Linchpin Conversations number 319. We covered this. And during that Linchpin Conversations, I mentioned 2 podcasts from Optimize Me Nutrition, Eva Claire Sinkowski. Listen to those two podcasts that I mentioned. So go to Linchpin Conversations number 319 that covers this topic, and then I mentioned the 2 specific Optimize Me Nutrition episodes where EC talks on like 2 30-minute episodes specifically about this topic and like goes into the weeds, takes opinion out, brings facts in, and then you can make truly your own decision as to what you want to do. I guess my charitable view, first of all, I staunchly believe they are not necessary. My charitable view is if you've got it and you really like it, and having that or looking at that gets you into the gym more frequently, then that's a good thing. Anything which gets you into the gym more frequently and works for you as an individual human being, hey, that's got my support. If you're eating better, working out more, are you paying a bit more attention to your sleep, whatever it happens to be, and if that does it for you, cool. Is it necessary? No. And so that's probably the simplest way that I can do that. There's also an interesting phenomenon. I know there's a term for it in like sociology or psychology or something like that it's after you spend money on something, you don't want to admit that you shouldn't have spent money on it. There is a term for that. I can't remember for the life of me what it is. And so the people who have decided to spend the money, it's then after you've got that and you're locked into the monthly payment, it's very tough to admit that, this thing's not so cool, because you're committed. So it's also tough to get that out of people's heads. All right. Well, that ought to fire people up. All right, let's see. So that was that. Where are the games going to be held next year? I have no idea. Somebody says they believe it's in Birmingham, Alabama. And then the response was, I can't believe they would go there unless they change the dates. Way too hot. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, we shall see. Okay. A fun question from Mary. You recently mentioned that you enjoy that series Drive to Survive about the F1 racing. Who's your favorite personality, and what are those neck exercises all about? I like Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's fantastic. He drove for Mercedes. And then who's that crazy younger dude that was probably not younger anymore, drove for Red Bull? Max Verstappen. The guy's just ferocious. And I can't remember the neck exercises, but I have to think that the forces that your body is exposed to in those cars, and heaven forbid there's a crash or something at that speed, that a strong neck is going to treat you very well. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, good one. About sleds. Everyone enjoys a good sled. So, this is from Mike B. I joined last month, and about 3 months ago, I bought a sled for my garage gym. I've searched here, and it seems like sled work won't be programmed, and I understand why. It's a shame to see it gathering dust in the corner. So do you have a recommendation for when it can be used as a sub for different movements or even in a different workout? Would you consider adding it for occasion, an optional accessory piece for the main workout? Alternatively, is there a time when you recommend we can get some use from it? Just want to get some use out of it, as it was really expensive and I enjoy using it. Okay, so I've got a sled myself, and not only do you have to have a sled, you've got to get a place to push it somewhere that you won't disturb your neighbors, but sleds are awesome. And so you could have a classic sled that just has the rope strap where you can drag it or pull it, or you might have some people call like a butcher or a prowler sled as well, the two upright posts that you can sprint with there as well. So some great times to use the sled, which they are fantastic, by the way. They can be a great work for accessory movements after particularly like a heavy day, heavy squats, heavy deads. You can go ahead and do some heavy drags afterwards. And heavy drags, if you have the type with the strap, but I guess you could also just put a strap or some handles. Even if you had like a butcher or a prowler, you could put some straps in there relatively easily. So you could pull it walking in a normal fashion, if that makes sense, or you could turn around so that you're walking backwards and you're pulling the sled as you walk backwards, by the handles or the straps, I should say, and that will give you a quad burn kind of unlike no other. And then just a regular great, sled push is just such a fantastic posterior chain strength building exercise, midline building exercise. Sleds are fantastic, so feel free to use them in those instances. Break them out on every post heavy day if you want. Have an absolute blast with them. They can also, if you wanted to, depending upon what you have, can be a great way to warm up also. Some lighter weight sled pushes and just build up your speed moving that can warm up that posterior chain. Fantastic. I had two things in my head. I want to get them before I don't have enough coffee before they go away. The other thing, what was it? Oh, if you've got a long strap for it, or even like a climbing rope, you can see some people will attach like a climbing rope to a sled. You can do something creative where in place of doing pull-ups or something like that in a workout, you can put your sled way down the other end of the driveway, get 25 feet of rope there or something, and you're stationary, you're not moving, do a hand over hand pull as you're bent over at the waist toward yourself, or seated at the ground, pulling it towards you, to just get a great upper body pull in there, some grip strength work. And you could do that in place of a rope climb, in place of pull-ups or something like that. So feel free to use it in that way. And then you could also do it on a sprint day. So for example, I just chatted about the day that we had yesterday, right? The 5 50-meter sprints, the 3 400-meter sprints, and the 1 800-meter sprint. Those 5 50-meter sprints are programmed there because they're awesome, and they make ferocious athletes, and they make people explosive, and they're an area that's easy to neglect, super short, super sharp. However, that super short, super sharp, explosive sort of an effort, in a very short distance, like a 50, if you're not properly warmed up and you're not ready and you've been blowing off your sprinting and you do too much too soon and ramp up the intensity before you're ready, it can be a bad day for your hamstrings. There can be a hamstring strain. I mean, those days have to be respected. Just like you wouldn't tell somebody, hey, you know what? Oh, you haven't been lifting heavy in years. Let's go into my garage and do a real serious 7x1 back squat. Right off the bat, people would be like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. Person's not ready for that. Well, it's the same deal with sprinting. It should be respected just like that. And so a great way to also ease yourself in, you could do those 50-meter sprints if you had a part of planet Earth that was friendly to you, but not everybody does. If you had a hill sprint's a great way to do those. Okay, because by its very nature, it will slow you down just a little bit, and that can be a good thing for the old glutes and hamstrings if you're still getting back into sprinting. So hills are great. And not everybody has access to a hill, just like not everybody has access to a sled. But if you have a sled or like a prowler sort of a deal, on those 5x50-meter days, now you wouldn't want to load it down so heavy that now you're moving slow. Keep that sled light, because I mean, even an empty prowler or an empty butcher for a 50-yard sprint, 50-meter sprint, that's going to be great to still keep you moving fast, but slow you down just enough that it could be a great introduction to starting to move quick again like that. So on a day like that, I certainly wouldn't use it in the 400s or 800s, hopefully that goes without saying, but on those 50s, man, that would be a really nice time to break out a light sled, move quick with some load. Awesome way to do it. So you can have a lot of fun with that sled. Let's see. Ooh, this is an interesting question. Okay, let's see here. Is there a more upvoted one? Yeah, okay, I'll get to this more upvoted one first, just in case I run out of time here. My little girl's starting to stir. Oh, let's see. This is from... Darn it, the name got cut off here. I'm so sorry, the name got cut off. Why is the heavy day at a high heart rate such a firm favorite in the Linchpin programming? I really enjoy these days, but I'm intrigued as to the science behind them, as I've never come across them before. What are the benefits of the heavy day at a high heart rate as opposed to a straight up heavy day? Please share more about this beautiful approach. Thank you. Well, science follows observation. It's just like when CrossFit first came out, there was no science behind it, so it couldn't work. There's no science. Heaven forbid, there's not a peer-reviewed paper. What there is a whole bunch of people making people really fit. So, science follows observation. If somebody wants to go ahead and do a study, have a blast. We do them because they work. And that's not a cheap, easy blow-off answer there. If we're looking to cover all of our bases, my question is, why wouldn't we do a heavy day at a high heart rate? We do heavy days at a low heart rate. We do upper body days, we do body weight days at high heart rates, right? And what's Cindy? What's that 21-15-9 that we did a little while ago of pull-ups and burpees, which was disgusting. Just pull-ups and burpees, 21-15-9. That is a high heart rate body weight day. We do high heart rate, just straight up conditioning days. Yesterday, the sprint day, which has got a lot of mention, right? We do moderate days as regards to loading. And that's Fran, 21-59 thrusters and pull-ups. That's high intensity, but at a moderate loading. And so we cover as many bases as you can, from high intensity days at no weight, high intensity days just conditioning, high intensity days at lightweight, think about Randy, high intensity days at moderate weight. Why would we suddenly just say, you know what, there's a whole nother piece to that puzzle? High intensity day at a high heart rate, but you know what? We're not going to do it. We're just not going to do that. We're just going to think that's that's not a piece of the puzzle that's worthwhile. I mean, a heavy day at a high heart rate, intensity being a relative thing. So all of those days are days at high heart rates, light, moderate, and heavy. And so it would be, in my personal opinion, foolish and a blind spot not to think that if, again, body weight at a high heart rate has its place, moderate loading at a high heart rate has its place, why wouldn't the heavy day at a high heart rate have its place? And it's another great way to get in some loading in a particular movement while hitting some other aspects of training. And this could potentially link into a question that was asked earlier of like training days versus testing days. And this is something that, as I have hopefully improved over the years as a programmer, has developed just through observation and maniacal study of what's actually been going on in the athlete population and what I think is missing or needed. So most of these days should be considered, as I said, training days, not testing days. And so it's just another day to get in a good heavy lift, but to get in a good heavy lift with some other things thrown in there, whether it's a monostructural component, a gymnastics component. It could be something which has direct interference. It could be something which does not have direct interference. But again, if we think about why we're training the human body, it's not for an artificial competition. It's for classic CrossFit methodology, which I truly believe, training for real life, actually training for the unknown and the unknowable. And I can't think why you wouldn't believe in the real world there's something which is going to occur, which would be very similar to a heavy day at a high heart rate. Like the real world could throw that at you. And so ideally, you will have exposed yourself or your athletes to that stimulus in the controlled environment of the gym, the garage gym, whatever, before they experience it in the real world. And maybe this is just an over-the-top, example that maybe won't apply to a lot of people, but I think you could find some other analogies that do. But I just think about, a lot of time has gone by from when I was a team guy, a SEAL, but that still colors my thoughts very directly. And I didn't know it back then, but there was plenty heavy days at a high heart rate in that occupation. So anybody who's a police, firefighter, first responder, military, you're going to have a heavy day at a high heart rate. There was plenty of people in our platoon that were north of 200 pounds without their gear on. Now add their gear and they're quite a miserable sandbag to carry. And if we're just doing training, there's going to be down man drills or whatever it happens to be. You're already sprinting and running around with gear. Your heart rate's already jacked up, and it's probably been jacked up for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, one of the training cadre says, "Oh, Joey's a down man. Get him 800 meters over there." Well, there's your 250-pound sandbag that you already were jacked up on tired legs and a high heart rate and your body's trembling, and now you've got to move this 250-pound person over most likely not flat terrain quickly. Potentially a bit of an extreme example, but same deal. You're going to find that in firefighters sprinting upstairs with gear, moving an object, a person, breaking down a door, whatever it happens to be. There's a very useful adaptation to training in the gym and an adaptation outside of the gym as well. So the heavy days at a high heart rate, it's funny. I do really think, I don't want to say that we pioneered them at Linchpin. That would be a profound, egotistical or short-sighted thing to do. They very clearly could have been happening somewhere else, but I will say we've been very open and honest about hey, this is something that we incorporate. It works really well, and I think more people should do it. So that's that. Let's see. This is a good one. Let me click on a tab so I can look at the workouts for the week. Hold on, I'm going to a Google Doc here. Where are we? We're in August 10th. Okay, this is a question from Josh, and maybe we will end on this one. Let's see. Question from Josh is, if we have like a part A rest 5 minutes, and then a part B. We had a workout like that recently. True, we had that on August 7th, and I'll chat about that workout here, which he mentions. For example, the bar muscle up bike, then the power snatch, knees to elbows bike earlier this week. How do you think about pacing part A versus part B? It seems almost like interval training, which I think you've previously said is shooter's choice. Light yourself on fire if you so desire, or hold a pace across all rounds. Except, unlike with intervals, if we destroy ourselves in part 1, we're sacrificing intensity across a different set of movements for part B. How do you think about pacing part A and part B when you program these? Okay, fantastic. So, great question. Great question. So on Monday, August 7th, if you want to go back and look at this exact workout that Josh is talking about, yes, it was a 5-round workout, a couplet. You rest 5 minutes, and then a 5-round workout that was a triplet. Okay? The first workout, both parts had the air bike. The first part was 5 rounds of 5 bar muscle ups, and then some calories on the air bike, 15 for men, 10 for women. So 5 rounds, 5 bar muscle ups, 15 or 10 calories on the air bike. You do that. You rest 5 minutes. And then the second part was you're going to load up a barbell, 115 for men, 75 pounds for women. And the second workout was 5 rounds of 6 power snatch, 12 knees to elbows, and then calories on the air bike, 18 for men, 12 for women. You will also note on that particular day, it says 5 rounds for time or not. I specifically said that there. It's those, nothing's there just, accidentally. 5 rounds for time or not. So that or not right away lets you know you don't have to stomp the gas on that. I didn't write yesterday for the sprints that we talked about, or not. There's some things, again, it's always your call. It is. But when you think about a workout like this, specifically, bar muscle-ups are something that people have as a challenge. And so it's a great day to have it be for a 4-time or not workout, because I put these in. I should put 4-time or not every single solitary day. And I've actually thought about doing that. Every single workout, I'm going to write 4-time or not. Because even though everyone's listening to what I'm saying, I think taking it in, it's still, some people struggle with that training versus testing. And they struggle with thinking that I just don't have to burn it down every day. And that's one of the most important things I try to get across to people, is training versus testing. So the 4-time or not was just, look, bar muscle-up's a fantastic movement, which, if you think about somebody who's capable at bar muscle-ups and on the bike, they could move through that workout at a decent pace. My wife's great at that movement. She moves through that workout at a decent pace. Well, if that's now suddenly the goal time that's set, then everyone's going to be depressed and I can't make the goal time, so now I'm not even going to do the bar muscle-ups. I'm going to modify it in some way. And now potentially you've missed out on a great training stimulus, the bar muscle-up, or a really meaningful, difficult modification, because you're concerned about the time. Whereas if you had just gone to the gym and got in some bar muscle-up training and practice or modification as close as you can, that would be so beneficial. But what crept into your head? That pesky clock. And again, trust me, if anybody understands the value of the clock and intensity, I get it. But I also get that doing it every day is not what you need to do. You need to allow yourself days to just develop and train and not worry about it. And so that's why it was a not for time option. And then that second workout, that little knees to elbows, as innocent as that is a challenging and difficult movement. And it's not going to be made easier by the fact that you did bar muscle-ups previously. Knees to elbows are challenging enough as they are. Not knees to armpits, not knees to triceps. Knees to elbows are tough. So again, but really beneficial. What an amazing, not only midline developer, but there's so much lat and chest involved in the knees to elbows that, you're not getting your chin over the bar, but you're getting better at pull-ups also when you're doing knees to elbows. It's not just midline development. They're a fantastic movement. And sets of 12 are no joke. So hence, not for time if you so desire, because it's going to be beneficial to you to break them up as you need to and get in the work. It's a training day. You're getting in some reps. You're getting in some volume. Training the muscle groups that you need to. You're challenging yourself appropriately. Now, if based upon how you feel and you slept and you're just feeling great, it's Monday, ready to just rip the head off of a lion, feeling good, Sunday was a rest day, these movements fare really well for me, I'm going to really push the pace. Totally your call and totally your option. But when I programmed this workout, and I remember this, I was going down all the stuff that we need to, it's funny, I've got some here on my desk. If you're listening to this in an audio format, you won't be able to tell, but I've got a ridiculous number of spreadsheets and checklists and matrices that I use to just identify where we've been, where we're going. Again, nothing's programmed randomly. I'm in the midst of it right now, from things that I scratched down to look at where we've been and where they need to be, to talking about what we've done with regards to upper body pulling and abs and the dates that occurred and the rep ranges that occurred and how those interplayed, to what are we doing for various sprint work on foot, on bike, on rower, mixed modality, the dates that it occurred, what should pop up there again, lining out over the course of the last 2 or 3 months, heavy days, both classic and at a high heart rate, chronologically, how did they occur, what were the rep ranges, what were the workouts that came before or after that, laying those all out as well to help identify where they should go, and then realizing that just because that's where the paper trail led me doesn't necessarily mean that intuitively that's where we should go. That gives me a great course to potentially assist me, but it's not just listening to those papers, because there's a very human side of programming as well, and those both come together as far as I'm concerned. The analytical, more scientific, more data-driven side, and then they have been doing this for just about 20 years side as well, and those two come together to then create ideally beautiful, elegant programming. So again, nothing happens just accidentally or randomly. On this particular workout, what we needed to do on this day, based looking backwards and looking forwards, when I was laying out a 4-week block here, we needed upper body pulling. But we didn't just need upper body pulling. The bar muscle up made the most sense based upon where we'd been. And then, based upon midline and some barbell stuff as well, a knees to elbow was a great fit, as was a power snatch at a moderate loading. A little bit lighter than you wanted for 30 reps in some chunks of 6. I could have made this one big long chipper, and I played with multiple variations of this particular day's workout before I landed on the 5-rounder, 5 minutes rest, and the 5-rounder. Because all the other ones that I came up with when it was, all into the same session and making it 2, 3, 4 rounds or something like that to get in the overall volume by the end of the day that I wanted the athlete to get in, it just didn't work. It was clunky. I didn't like it, and I thought it wouldn't give the athlete the best opportunity to actually benefit from the day, because you got bar muscle ups and then you're doing something else, and in the same workout session, again, there hasn't been a break, you got some knees to elbows happening, and all they did was slow down the other part that you're doing. It didn't work. And so if I wanted the athlete to get in these 3 components, wanted to get in some bar muscle ups, wanted to get in some knees to elbows, not only for the midline, but also due to it does interfere and it's going to be taxing muscle groups that were already used with the bar muscle up, that had to be in there as well. And then the pull from the ground to overhead, the explosive hip opening, and then but also the bike work as well. I wanted to put something in there that would allow the athlete just enough of a work to rest ratio to either go back to the bar muscle up, to go back to the barbell in the second part for the power snatch, whatever it happened to be, and be ready for it. Okay, and so the calories in the bike for the first one gave a nice back and forth work rest. And while the bike was very uncomfortable, even if you pedaled it moderately, I remember this day, what it did was it gave you a set period of time before you had to go back for another set of 5 muscle ups. So that first one was about, let's get in some muscle up work, some bar muscle up work. And the bike is the distraction, an annoying distraction, and a rest so that you can go back to the bar and do some bar muscle ups. You get 5 minutes rest, then you go back and you've got the power snatch, the knees to elbows, and again that 18 calories or 12 calories on the bike specifically put in there because you've got grip and pulling on those other 2 exercises right there. We've got to give you something else so that you get a bit of an active rest before you go back for the next round. And so all of that stuff was put in there very deliberately, very intentionally. And again, shooter's choice. You could have decided to press the gas if you wanted to today, but today was a great day for a training day. A great day to go in there moderately. A great day to even go in there at a low intensity because, hey, you know what? I just got to work my bar muscle ups. It's going to take me a while, and that's okay. That's how you're going to get better at bar muscle ups. Sets of 12 knees to elbows. I'm going to be doing these in 4 sets of 3. That's okay. 5 rounds of time or not. Don't run the clock. You know what you're going to do on that day? Who cares about the time? You're going to get better at knees to elbows, and that's going to be great. But if you're always so concerned with got to burn it down, got to do it fast, then there's a good chance you won't actually allow yourself the training day that you need. I don't know if that makes sense. Josh, I don't know if I answered your question. I think I rambled a bit there. My apologies. So, okay, that's that. I hope that was helpful and beneficial to everybody. My little girl is up, so I'm going to go attend to her. And other than that, what's today? Thursday? It's a rest day. Enjoy it, everybody, all around the world. And we'll talk again soon.